Good morning, everyone. So I know there's going to be some more people that are joining us, but I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. But first of all, thank you so much. I do want to share a couple of things with you before we get started today. First of all, you will notice that we are in a brand new year, new beginnings. So what we're going to do is I'm going to recap a couple of things. So as most of you know, last year, the tech trainers did a pivot. And what I mean by that is that we were taking a step back from all of the classes that we were teaching, and we wanted to really focus and be strategic about what we were presenting to you. And we do understand that many of you, for whatever reason, may not necessarily have or utilize Command as your primary CRM. So we wanted to come from contribution. And so what we decided to do was revamp our training, have one succinct training per month, but have that really add value to you as an agent. And so we have come up with some classes that we feel that are exactly what you need based on what you're telling us and what I'm hearing from the agents in terms of what your needs. So one of the things we also do is take a look at where the market is. And as many of you know, there is a shifting. And so to prepare for that, we felt like this year, the first thing we wanted to do was talk about listings, and specifically how to leverage listings. And there is no better person to talk about listings and how they've leveraged listings to have the longevity in real estate that they've been able to, other than my very good friend and confidant, Mr. Lee Potts. So there's a couple of things that I'm going to do before I turn it over to Lee. I just wanted to talk about what we're going to do today so you understand the totality of this power-packed hour session. So I'm going to share one tip with you for those of you that are using Command in terms of some resources that are going to be available to you or that are currently available to you. Then I'm going to turn it over to Lee. He's going to talk about leveraging listings. And then if we have time, I did pull some data and some best practices as it relates to marketing that I will share with you. If I don't have time to share it with you, I will email everyone. So it's a PowerPoint presentation that talks about best practices from a marketing perspective to leverage listings, regardless of your CRM. So for those of you that are utilizing Command, I wanted to show you this. So let me share my screen again. And this. So can everyone see this? So within Command, many of you that do reach out to me and also know that we have our own very own YouTube channel, which is MC space 1002. And that when you also reach out to me with any issues within Command, I've sometimes either just did a Zoom call with you and or did a quick Loom video. And Loom is a great resource for those of you that may not be utilizing it, depending on if you're newer agents, but it's under 5 minutes. It's a very succinct how-to. And so what I did is I took all of the YouTube videos, all of my Loom videos, and put them and placed them into one Google Doc that you don't need a password or anything for. So basically what it does is it tells you the applet category, applets in Command, and then from there, what the subject is, and then it's a direct link to the video. So when I am not available, or if you just want a quick, I need to know how to do something. So then just go to here. This link is always within my email footer. So if you've ever received an email from me, it's in there. And I'm actually going to copy this link once Lee talks. And I'm actually going to copy this link, send it to you. And you can, or actually, let me do it right now. And I'll put the link in the chat. And then that way you can save it and you can have it for future reference. So that is something that recently I did last quarter that's been very helpful. So without further ado, I know you don't want to hear me talk anymore. We're going to turn it over to Lee, and Lee's going to present leveraging listing. Lee, you have the floor, or the Zoom floor.
Zoom floor, the virtual floor. Aloha. So if my eyes are a little red today, it's not because I'm crying, it's because my contacts have a mind of their own today. So they're jumping around in there, and we'll see how we get through this anyway. So first of all, is everybody using a CRM, whether it's Command or not? Everybody using something? You can raise your hand. You can click the little applet hand, and I'm not seeing a lot of hands go up here. All right, if you're not using a CRM, you're at a great disadvantage. So think about that, because we'll talk about the things you can do with the CRM a little bit. But I'm just going to ramble through some stuff here. And a lot of you have heard me talk about ninja selling before. And so I like ninja selling just because of the way it works, but also because there are some rules around it. And the first rule of ninja selling is show up. And so show up means you wake up ready to go to work every day. You get your morning routine, you do your gratitudes, you write in your journal, and you ask yourself, what would a top listing agent do today? So that's the mindset that you want to have. What would a top listing agent do today? And then that's the action that you're going to take. In our CRM, one of the things that we're able to do is just pull everybody up, and we've given them all rankings. So everybody on my team has the same CRM. Every person in the CRM has a ranking: hot, warm, cold, contacted, something that tells us something about that person at a glance. And we're looking every day, we want to focus on the hots and the warms. So a hot is somebody that's going to take some action. They're going to list a property or buy a property within 90 days. So that's the hots. Warms are people that are going to do something within the next year. So every day we want to focus on the hots and the warms. The hots we're touching sometimes every day, but at least once a week. The warms we're touching at least once a month. Okay, so we're going to send them an email. It may be a market update. It may be something that you saw that you thought of. It may just be, hey, I was at the ocean today and I saw a whale. Just thought you'd like to see this picture. Something, it doesn't have to be real estate, just something warm and fuzzy or business related to reach out to those folks. Do you guys have hot lists? Do you rank your clients? Can they do that? Latasha, can they do that?
Yes, so they can do it. So sorry, I muted myself because I didn't want to have any background, but they absolutely can. So there's a way, a tagging system that I can help them set up where they can, categorize whatever it's hot, warm, cold, whatever it is. So we can absolutely do that within Command.
And then tags, you could put neighborhoods, you could put condo complexes, you could put second home. There's all kinds of things you can do with tags to help you sort through, right? Okay. Are you guys aware of that? Are you using any of those tools? Okay, I got one head nod over here. Would that be useful if you could look and see who are all my hots? Who are all my people that are looking in this section of town? Who are the people that I sold to 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? So I don't know how many of you have been in the business for 3 years or longer. Anybody? Okay, so you're all still relatively new.
Lee, can I jump in one more minute?
Sure.
Going back to what you said, because it's really pivotal, regardless of whatever CRM. You can also, within Command, it will actually, there is a kind of Siri-like auto robot that tracks your input, your data, your notes, in terms of once a contact is in your database, that robotic Siri-like automated will go through your last touch, and you can actually run reports or have a screenshot or a visual tool of last contacted. So that also can help you. So there are multiple strategies to do exactly what Lee is encouraging you to do. If you're not doing that, there's multiple ways to do that within Command as any CRM to help you maximize your database.
Yeah, so our most successful agent on our team, Carrie Nicholson, the way she starts her day after she does her gratitudes and journaling and get a little exercise is she sits down in front of our CRM, pulls up hots and warms, and she just starts at the top and works through them. When I meet with our team agents every week we have a one-on-one. I ask them, who are your next 10 listings? Who are your next 10 buyers? So most of them don't have 10. They've got 3 or they've got 5. So then we talk about what are you going to do to fill that in so that you get 10. So are all of you guys running some kind of a marketing campaign? What are you doing to lead generate? Just give me a little feedback here. Let's work on this together. Anyone? Cheryl, I can see you want to talk.
I pay for leads right now for buyers through the Zillow program. And I also just did my first postcard, a jumbo postcard, working with a title company. I picked out an area that I wanted to focus on because I have an interested buyer in those areas at 2 different areas. So it's my first farming opportunity for looking for a listing.
So your postcard to a farm.
Hmm.
And Michelle, I saw Michelle pop up, say something about farming a neighborhood. Michelle, what are you doing to farm the neighborhood?
I'm doing postcards, but I have different style postcards. And so it's depending on what it is, if it's a statistical one or if it's a just listed, just sold, will determine how frequently they go out. And I'm working up to the point where I'm going to be able to do statisticals every month. I have been doing quarterly because it was easier to pull stats, but I feel like the market's moving so fast that the more information we can keep going, especially when there's so few, the inventory is so low.
Okay, so you're touching those. Somebody else raised their hand, had something in the chat. Drive by, Lyft, and Uber. Jesse, what are you doing? Oh, Jesse, I see you. Oh, maybe
That's
not.
just my main, that right now I just started again. That's really my main source of lead generation right now. So I only have activated my license since December, so I'm just getting started again.
Right, so you're kind of holding an open house in your Uber.
I talk as much as I possibly can.
Okay, well, one thing that we say in Ninja is listen more, talk less. One mouth, 2 ears. Remember that.
Oh,
They'll
yeah.
tell you what they want to know if you just ask the right questions.
Well, that's what, when I say I talk a lot, that's I ask questions. I ask questions and then I listen.
That's great.
So it's that's what I'm doing right now. That's to as a primary lead generation. But I'm also looking at because I'm in a subdivision that I've been in for the last 13 years that is insanely growing as far as price. I'm trying to figure out how I can go about farming that. Because there's a lot of people that have been in there for quite a while. There's a lot of people that may not realize that their home is worth a hell of a lot more than they paid for it.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of tips to really work the neighborhood, especially if it's your neighborhood. You ought to own your neighborhood. Lisa and then Saul. Lisa? Lisa, you have something you wanted to say about farming or prospecting, lead generation?
Are you talking to me?
You have your hand up.
Oh, I did. That was what, and you asked about CRMs. I forgot to put it down.
Oh, okay. I like talking to you anyway, so.
Yeah. I've done the farming. I did a solid year of farming in one neighborhood for 2021. And I think I chose the wrong farm because I didn't get anything back. And so I'm reevaluating that. But mostly because I've been doing this a while, I'm reaching out to people I've sold to remind them of the appreciation and the value of the property that I sold. I just had dinner with an old client And they purchased a year ago, and they've had $100,000 in appreciation in their condo. So
Yeah.
got their interest definitely, and just having them talk to people around them about me. So
Yeah. So if you haven't gone through all of your databases, one thing I would like you to do is go through all of your databases. So all of your databases are, you just got a bunch of Christmas cards. All those people should be in your database. You have everybody that's already in your database. Get your phone, go through your phone, get all the emails you've got in your phone, get all of those into your database. So we'll talk about an email that you can send out here in a little bit, and then maybe I can send that over to Latasha. But I met with some people I've known for years. They live in a condo here on Maui. We sat down and talked and said, hey, did you know we just sold a unit in there for $750,000? And the guy just about fell out of his chair because these were selling for $500 last year. And so that's going to be a listing. So people that you haven't been in contact with for about a year, or that you haven't talked to real estate with for about a year, it'd be a good time to reach out to those people. And one of the things you can do is a thing that we call a real estate review. So all a real estate review is if you do a CMA summary, like right out of Paragon. So go back for the last year, all the actives, pendings, sold, call the person you know and say, hey, just like your doctor does an annual checkup, you do an annual checkup with maybe your banker, your financial planner, your dentist. Well, I'm your realtor, and I think it's my responsibility for me to give you an annual checkup on your real estate portfolio, even if that's just one house. Ask them, hey, Thursday, would you have about 10 or 15 minutes, just grab a coffee, and we'll go over your real estate. How hard is that? Would it be nice to connect with these people live, face to face? I'm not getting a lot of love here. So let me just tell you, this really works. And what you want to do when you meet with somebody or when you want to send an email, remember Ford. Who knows what Ford stands for? I see a lot of heads bobbing. All right.
Ford
For those
is family, occupation, recreation, and dreams.
Terrific. And how do you use that when you meet with people?
You incorporate into your conversations. So you talk about you talk about family and occupation, recreation, and dreams as a lead way, or as a way to connect and on a deeper level with people.
It's a way to connect with people. Okay, it's about them. And when you meet and do a real estate review, or if you're just talking on the phone, some of us who are Ds really need to use this in our emails. Otherwise, we have these just like really blunt statements that answer a question or address something. So we're going to go, hey, Kayla, how you doing? How's the family? How's real estate going for you? And then you can segue into the reason that we wanted to meet here today is because I wanted to show you how real estate's doing in your area. Do you have any idea how much appreciation you had in the last year? Then so it just opens up the conversation, and you want to focus on the other person. This is not about you, it's about your client. So real estate review would be one of the things that you do. Autumn, you said you like door knocking. Talk to us about door knocking a little bit, would you?
Yeah, aloha, Lee. It's been a while.
It has. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm still on the mainland, but I do come back and forth. I'm a real people face-to-face person, and I love door knocking. I know some people don't. The way I traditionally like to do it is in combination with an open house or an open condo, which you so generously often have available to people. So I let people know like the day before I do one, I'll go door knock and say, hey, I'm going to have an open house tomorrow. I wanted to invite you guys for a private view of your neighbor's home. So I'll do that. And then the day of, I'll kind of go around before I do the open house and door knock again. And then typically after to let them know about the next open house. And I find that's when the easiest door knocking, because people are really receptive to that. Well, even if they say no, they'll say, oh, thanks for the invite. I haven't been invited before, personally invited to see one. Or they're like, oh yeah, I've always wanted to take a look at that house or see what they've done to it, or curious about their pool remodel or whatnot. So with an open house, I love doing that. And if it's just a neighborhood I'm farming, I typically will start with one that I have either I personally have owned or have some type of relationship with, so I can, you know, talk to people about that. But similar to Ford, I try to always think before I do any outreach, what do I have to offer? So I don't just go knock, knock, here's my card, I'm a real estate agent. I take the time to, whether it's a flyer or more information, hey, would you like some stats on your community? Or, you know, find something of value to give them.
And that's the key. Value is the key, because
Lee,
if you add value, then you start to build trust. And if they trust you, then you can have communication. Who said, hey, Lee?
that was me, Latasha.
Hey, Latasha.
Hey, I do want to share one thing, that one of the things that both you and also Dean Otto taught me, and also what Autumn had mentioned in terms of making that client connection. So real estate agents in general are big on farming, and that's not necessarily industry wide. There's some industries that do it better than others. And so many of you know that I have a staging business, and I want to share real quickly a testimonial about farming. So for farming, going back to what Autumn said, and also what Lisa mentioned, is when you're farming, I learned from both Lee and Dean in terms of going to them and asking them questions. First of all, make sure that you have an established relationship with that area or that community, and then also leverage that. And so just really quickly, I took the tips to heart. I had 2 units or 2 areas, Kanapali Ali and then Hohole. I purposely focused on those 2 properties, and this was last year. I created a 6-month marketing digital campaign and was very methodical about posting the same time once a month about what I offered. And at that particular time, I was highlighting my holiday installs, decorating. Because I had an established relationship with those those properties, I met with them before I started the campaign, told them what I was doing. Because they already knew me, they knew that when I do decorate, especially if it's for a children's unit, I actually dress up as an elf. So they had all this context about me. So I ran that digital campaign for 6 months, and I had my best 1 month ever for December, where I was doing 2 to 3 Christmas installs per day based on farming. So I wanted to show you that farming can work. Put the effort in, do the due diligence. I did it all with 0 marketing. I did it all through my Instagram. I did not pay for a postcard or for anything. I just leveraged the relationship, stayed consistent. And then on top of that, the people that were engaging with me on my social media platform, periodically, I would send them a note from my phone, just checking in, seeing how things are going. And I was able to leverage that. So I just wanted to share that quick testimonial that farming can work, whether it's in this industry or another industry. You just have to work it.
Latasha, how did you get a digital campaign to a geographic area and get them to engage with you? I mean,
Yes.
I'm not
So
sure.
how I did that is I reached out to my contact at Fidelity. I got a listing of all of the units in terms of their owners for both of those properties. And so I started a digital campaign via email, text messages to them, and I leveraged that. But then the key thing about that is then I went into the units themselves and met with the workers and talked to them about what I was doing. So then they were able to also, when clients talked about booking for December, they were like, hey, we've got Latasha. She's been in our area before. If you need somebody to decorate your home, she's your person. So I leveraged that. And then once they that was like validating. So I still had the campaign going, but then I backed it up with them being able to validate who I was. And that was how I was able to leverage.
But how did you get you got their emails and their phone numbers?
So I got their emails, and from there, I just kept after them. And then I was able to just be consistent and sending them the email. And then once they responded, I would get, their phone number. And then the best part about it is they would go to my social. So when I sent the email out, I put, because I specifically targeted Instagram only. So I would send them videos and send them a link to my Instagram. And once they started following me, then I started engaging with them. So coupled with the consistency, making sure that I got their information, but most importantly, the one thing that I did is I had other people review my marketing strategy to make sure that there was a WIFM for them. What's in this for me? So I capitalized on the feeling of, walking into your unit, seeing it decorated, the smell. So I captured that from them. And then I leveraged the units, or excuse me, the properties, so that they also reinforced it by sending out information, or if somebody called on the phone, then they would immediately say, hey, I just met with Latasha. She's great, call her. So I'm more than happy to share that. If people want to reach out to me via Zoom, I'm happy to give you everything I did. And you can go forward, edit it however you want.
Okay, so that's an example of some very focused farming. And so earlier, Jesse had talked about a specific neighborhood. So in the neighborhood that I'm in, we send out a quarterly newsletter. We send out a lot of postcards. But when we send out our newsletter, it says from your resident expert. So letting people know that we live in this complex. And so therefore we have knowledge. Knowledge is value. And then that can start to build trust. So I'm going to touch on 3 things that we do, our focus. So I was listening to Gary Keller a few years back, and most of you have read the Red Book, right? Everybody knows what the Red Book is? Anybody raise your hand? Okay, I'm getting some thumbs up. So in the Red Book, there are all kinds of marketing strategies and tactics. And when you go through Ignite, or when you go through any of the other training that we do, we talk about all these different ways that you can do marketing. And Gary Keller stood up on the platform and said, I didn't really intend for you to do all of those things. This is more like, this is the best, the list, the best of, best habits, best traits. What I really meant, and what I think you should do, is pick 3 things that you do well and you like to do. Focus on those things. So our focus at Aloha Group is, first of all, your database, your contacts. Most of your business over the years is going to come from somebody who's already in your database. It's not going to be that lead that comes in from Zillow or the lead that comes in from Google AdWords. Those won't become clients in most cases for 18 months, 2 years, maybe even 3 years. You're catching them at what we call the top of the funnel, right? They're getting ready. They're thinking about it. They're actually interviewing you. So those people are going to be in your database for a while. People you know are going to be in your database for a while. So the first thing that you want to do is reach out to everybody in your database. Make sure they're getting something from you at least monthly. So a monthly marketing report or something along those lines. You can generate those out of your MLS system. So Paragon has some nice reports. Our team just mails them out, and every month they get thank yous coming back in. So first thing is reach out to the people that know you. You might also send out an email that says, gosh, 2021 was a big year in real estate. Do you have any idea how much your property has appreciated? And then if you'd like a market update, a valuation update, please let me know. Or if it's somebody that you really want to send one to, you could even put in, you could just send them one. You could ask them if they'd like to have an appointment to look at a market review. Or you could ask them, would you object to me sending you an updated valuation on your property? So probably the answer to that is going to be no. And over time, when I'm on these sessions, I'll talk about using no, like instead of trying to get to yes, get to no. And the reason you want to get to know is because that just opens up all the communication. They'll tell you, no, I don't want it, or that would be okay. And these are my questions. So would you object to me sending you a market update? So first of all, reach out to your contacts. And then, like Latasha was talking about, pick some areas that you're going to farm. You can get information from the MLS. If you're going to go door knocking like Autumn, take something of value, take market stats, take those around. There was a company in Southern California, they were doing a large area, it was like 4,000 homes or something. And every week they had like kids on bicycles going out with market stats, putting them under the doormats of each one of the houses. Turned out to be a pretty effective marketing strategy. And you can get lists. Yes.
This is Autumn again. I thought it was in one of your classes that we did some math, because what the other gal said as far as market farming, you don't want to just randomly pick a farm, because you can actually do some legwork to see what's statistically a good farm neighborhood, correct? And I can't remember what that math was.
You know, numbers that I hear are 5 to 10% turnover in the neighborhood. And I think these last few years, we've seen more turnover than we have in previous years. And I also think because of the appreciation, we see more people that are thinking about selling. And as we get concerned about, geez, there's not that many listings out there. What I'm seeing, what I'm thinking is we've got people that have been thinking about it for the last 2 years, and now they're just now getting ready. So we want to make sure that we're out there touching bases with whatever area you're going to focus on. Now, one of the things your escrow company can do for you, and what we focus on a lot, are non-owner occupants. So you can ask your escrow company, whether it's Fidelity or First Hawaii or whoever you like, whoever's your friend, can you give me a list of non-owner occupants for X area? And the area, you know, you'd like it to be 200 to 400 places. Otherwise, you're really going to be spending a lot of time, because we have some of these small condo complexes, maybe sell one condo a year, maybe one a year turns over in there. So you'd like to have a bigger neighborhood to farm. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does to me. Thank you.
So also, if you can get out and do open houses in those neighborhoods, one of our agents, Courtney Stice, was doing an open house recently. She had been doing open houses for 3 or 4 months, and she would come to me and say, boss, everybody that comes in is represented. They're just looking, I'm just not getting anything out of this. And so then she held an open house at a condo complex down in Kihei. She said, hey, I'm getting a listing. So usually you're doing an open house, you think you're looking for buyers. In this complex, some of the owners were coming around and they were basically interviewing agents to sell their property. So open houses can be really strong, especially if you want to focus on that neighborhood so that people get to know you. And not only did that turn into a listing, that person referred her to somebody else. And so she got 2 listings out of that one open house. So open houses can be very powerful. And whether you're getting a list like Latasha did for the Ali'i, or you're getting people at open house, you want to put them in your CRM and you want to start dripping on them. So if you were working Ali'i, as an example, anybody you pick up there, you put them into your automatic drip to send them listing updates. So new listings, closed listings, things that are going pending. You want them to constantly see you as the source of information. So they're way up at the top of the funnel. You're dripping on them with valuable information. They start to trust you. And when the time comes for them to sell or to make a referral, do you know anybody that does Christmas decorations? Do you know anybody in real estate that you like? That's what's going to happen. They'll get referred to you. So put them in the system and drip on them. The other thing that we do is, for those of you who are sending a postcard, I'd like you to consider sending a letter instead. So it's more work. It probably costs, instead of 50 cents a piece, they're probably up around $1, $1.10. But a lot of the direct mail people that I'm listening to on different blogs really like the idea of a plain white hand-addressed envelope. And you're going to have a letter inside. So I'll tell you what the letter is going to say in a minute. But think about sending letters instead. And there are two campaigns that I'll talk about. Also, don't ignore text and emails. So use your CRM. You can send emails out of command, right?
Yes.
Okay. So use that. Just go through, send emails, and the email is going to talk about how much values have increased. Okay. I'm writing my expired letter as we are in class. Okay, so much valuable information here. Okay, so, and if somebody's expired in this market, boy, it sounds like something happened there that was wrong, because I just don't see very many expireds. But yeah, work on those expireds when they come up. So 2 email campaigns that we are doing right now. One is a little harder. In fact, I'm going to give you the hard one first. The hard one is hard because you have to do each property individually. And all the campaign is you go to Zillow, you print out the Zestimate. Is the Zestimate going to be right? Anyone? I'm getting a couple of head shakes now. Why isn't it right? Because they're looking in the rearview mirror, right? So you print out this estimate. It's got a picture of their house on the front of it. You take a Post-it note, and on the Post-it note, you write, "Call me to find out why this is wrong." You stick that Post-it note on this estimate. You fold that up, you put your card in, stick it in the envelope, mail it out. Sound easy? It just takes time. So Anthony Freda did one for a small complex where we had a property for sale. We sold it. He sent this out to about 30 people, and the 30 people were ranked highly likely to sell. And there are different ways of getting that. We use a product called Prospect Now. And actually, if you go into a Real List in Paragon, you can also get that data. It just takes a little longer to get it. So we sent it out to 30 people. 11 of them called him. That is a heck of a return rate. Now, nobody was ready to sell, or at least Anthony didn't get that far. But what he got was 11 people, phone numbers, email addresses for all of them. And now he drips on them with new listings and market update reports. So every month, and actually probably several times a month, they're getting new listing or sold listing information, and they get a market update for that property. So Anthony's focused on owning that property. Okay, so starting with direct mail, then follow up with your CRM. The other thing is we have a buyer. So whoever is working on the expired letter, I'm going to tell you what our buyer letter says right now, because we've changed it up. And I'm not going to send this to you. So if you want to see it, this is being recorded. Come back and listen to this again, and then go through, and you'll have the guts of the letter. It says, "Aloha, we have a buyer in your specific area at the Ali'i. I'm working with the Smiths. They are looking for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath with an ocean view. So we're getting very specific. It's not just we have a buyer, we have something very specific. If you don't have a specific buyer, then just say we're working with buyers. We know that there are buyers looking in your area. Okay. You probably know somebody that's looking for a property in that neighborhood. So in this case, we're working with the Smiths. They're looking for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Now we're sending this letter only to non-owner occupants. So we say, we know this is an investment property or a second home for you. If you would like to capitalize on the market, we can assist you from beginning to end with all of your on-island needs. So we're marketing to a lot of people who are off-island, but you could just use the same information for people who are on-island. All of your on-island needs, such as inspections, repairs, cleaning, shipping, whatever you need, we're here. We will be your boots on the ground. So what we're trying to do here is add value other than we've got a buyer, because a lot of people are sending, we got a buyer letters. So we can do a lot of things for you. We can also help you upgrade or downgrade with a 1031 deferred capital gains tax exchange for a property or properties here in Hawaii or on the mainland. A lot of people aren't thinking about 1031 exchanges, but if it's an investment property, you can help them with the 1031 exchange. It's pretty easy. We have exchange companies that are go-to companies. If you have questions about 1031 exchanges and you don't know who to talk to, just give me a call. I'll be happy to talk to you. But add that as an added value. And then you're going to say, if you're interested, you can text, call, or email me simply yes or no. And so I follow that up with text or call, yes or no, to, and then my phone number's there. So what happens with these is if somebody calls and says, yes, I'm interested, what do you do?
Get them an appointment.
Talk to them right there on the phone. If they text you, call them right away. Okay? Start the conversation. If they text you no, what you're gonna do is you're gonna text them back. And so I've got mine just in one of my notes on my phone, so I can copy and paste it. I'm gonna text them back and say, as you can imagine, we have sent this letter to a number of people in your area or at your complex or whatever's appropriate. Would you mind telling me what address we're talking about? And they're going to text you back and say it's 1438 Lower Road, or it's Unit A101, whatever it is, because they want you to know that. And then you're going to text them back and you're going to say, thank you so much. So we're going to thank them, acknowledge them. Thank you so much for taking time to respond. Would you object to me sending you a valuation, an updated valuation for your property? And what are they going to do? They're not going to say no, right? Would you object? And that's the letter that goes out. You get their information, you start dripping on them. You put them into your system and put them in at the top of your system so that they start getting updates from you. And what we do here, we have a version of what's called the 10 days of pain. So once you get a new lead, you follow up with them every day for 10 days. Now we do this right out of our CRM. We have phone calls scheduled, we have texts, we have letters. The texts are all pre-made, so the system just sends out the text. Emails are all pre-made, so the system just sends out the email. Phone calls, you have to pick up the phone and call them yourself. And so it's a mixture of real estate and something about the island, what's going on in the islands. So it's art and science. So mixing those two things together. The goal of that is to get them to reach out to you if they haven't already. Once they reach out to you, we put them on an 8x8. So that's also something that's built into Command. So you touch bases with them once a week, every week for 8 weeks. What's the objective of that? When they think about real estate, they think about Cheryl Ramos. That's what your objective is.
Top of mind.
Every person knows 12.8 realtors. And where does that 0.8 realtor come from? If you've been out there very long, you know that some of our peers are not all there. They're just 0.8. Okay, that was humor.
I got it.
You want to put them on a drip campaign for their neighborhood or their complex. So every one of our agents, one of the things I talk about for all the new leads I got during the week is, do you have them on the drip? Are you dripping on them? And then if they don't, we talk about how to make sure that happens. We're able to do monthly neighborhood update reports out of our system. I think Command doesn't do that yet, but you can just go to Paragon or your MLS system. Just pull the solds for the month, anything that's happened for the month, active, pending, sold, email that to them. Also email them the whole island update once a month. All of that can be done right out of your CRM. And if you don't have a monthly newsletter, there are lots of ways to get a monthly newsletter. The thing that is really hot right now, in case nobody knew, is video. So if you come on and say, hey, it's been a really hot month over here at Ali'i. This is what's gone on at the property. And oh, by the way, the beach replenishment project is making progress. There's something new at the golf course, throw in a couple of other things about the community. And you can just sit right in front of your computer, just like this. In fact, Zoom is a great program to make a video to send out. Just make that, drop it into your YouTube account. Everybody here has a YouTube account, right? If they don't have a YouTube account, Latasha, I'm sure, can help you set that up. It takes about 3 minutes. All right, Mark is saying, got one? Shoot that out to your database. Hey, it's been a great month here on Maui. Here's what's happening. News, weather, and sports. And
Can I
so
jump
you're
in real quick on what you just said about YouTube, if you don't mind, Lee? One of the things that you can also leverage, depending on how much you want to go for a video, which video is king and he's at, or queen, whichever vernacular you want to use. But the other thing that I've seen agents do, and I've actually started doing this as well, is you can also leverage like how-tos, like short little, tutorials. Now, these are people that are active. So you have to be very careful of how you target them, but just quick how-tos about, explanations about how to do something in that, process of selling your home or you listing your home. And so they create these instructional short clips of, to do videos. And it's been really transformational for agents that are using this in a high level or using it at a high level.
Yeah, that's on our plan. That's on our list. We've got a big list of things to do. But if you're listening to any of the other podcasts or whatever is going on out there in the real estate world, how-tos process is a big deal for buyers and sellers. And if you get the annual buyers and sellers trends from National Association of Realtors, which are free to download, those tell you what people are looking for, what kind of experience they've had. You can do videos just to answer the questions that are on that report and just post them on your YouTube channel. And like I said, you can do it right off of Zoom and just move them over there. So it's really an easy way to do it. You can share your screen if you've got graphics that you want to share. So those are all ways to leverage and send emails out to people to let them know to go to your YouTube or follow this link. And you can do that out of your command system. So those are some ways that we use our CRM to leverage everything that we've got. Listings lead to buyers. Buyers eventually become sellers. So just get them in your system and drip on them and never stop unless they call and say stop or they unsubscribe, right? Otherwise, and what I find, because we send out a lot out of our CRM, we send out a lot of listing information, we send out a lot of open houses, we send out a weekly dose of vitamin C SEA to let people know what's going on with whales and beaches and people jumping off rocks and people scuba diving and all that kind of stuff. We send all of that out. And one of my marketing assistants back several years ago said, geez, you're just swamping them with all of this stuff. Isn't that too much? And I said, well, if it's too much, they'll unsubscribe. And the people unsubscribe are agents, but not clients. I rarely have somebody that's in my a civilian in my database. Rarely do they unsubscribe. And when they do, we honor that, of course.
Could I give you kudos, Lee? I mean, to your team, because I actually follow you guys and I get all of your stuff and I love it because it's got that, you know, you talked about the balance of art and science. You've got that healthy balance. And so I love getting your information.
I'll make sure Stephanie knows. Okay, that's what I had covered on my agenda for today, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Don't be
Well,
shy.
There are a
Oh, go
couple
ahead.
in there for you about monthly neighborhood reports in command.
Yeah, so they can do general neighborhood snapshots of active listings. So they can do that within command.
And if you're using Paragon, there are a lot of resources in Paragon. The collaboration center is becoming more and more powerful, so that can be interactive. You can use that. Somebody asked what we're using. We're using a company called Real Geeks. So it's a very simple system. It does what we want it to do, and they keep adding features to it. So that works for us. I've used probably 3 or 4 CRMs over my business career. They all work. So it doesn't really matter which one you're using, just use it. The best system out there is the one that you'll use.
Agreed. Anyone have any aha moments, anything that you are committing to in terms of something you want to work on for the new year? Any questions, clarifying questions on anything?
Yeah, say thank you so much for having this today. It's really nice to always get a refresher and hear what other people are doing. So Lee, thank you so much for sharing your strategies. And
Pleasure.
yeah, I like that you were talking about with farming, make sure it has like 5 to 10% turnover. I think that's really important because if we're putting money into something, it's important to understand like how effective it's going to be. And my takeaway action is going to be trying out some of those buyer letters that you had shared with us and just saying we have a buyer in your area who's looking in your area. Please let me know if you'd like to, would you like text yes if you'd like more information or something along those lines. So I think I'm going to go ahead and try that.
Yeah, text yes or no. Yes or no. Either way, you're going to get contact information.
Anyone else? Was it a validation for, you know, what you're already doing? Because oftentimes everyone, regardless of who you are, even if you have a good strategy, it's always good to feel validation or knowing that you're on the right track. Anyone in that category in terms of validating what you're already doing?
I think this class was extremely valuable. Man, I just kept writing notes and notes and notes. One of the things that I'm trying to actively work on, like I said, right now as we speak, is like, you know, circles prospecting, farming certain areas. So as we're doing this class, I'm thinking of, okay, not only expires because I cover Hawaii and Texas. You know, like you said, I could alternate maybe every other week. It's like 1 week I do expires, 1 week I do just owners, just homeowners and sending them CMAs. So just incorporating the doctorate mindset is life-changing. So thank you.
And for those of you who are just starting farming, I would say give it at least 12 months because people tend to want to give up after 2 or 3 months and nothing happens. Just like Courtney wanted to give up on open houses and then click. I have a very small Zillow account. I spend not that much money. And every month I say, I'm not going to do this anymore. And then every second or third month, we get a lead that turns into a transaction. The last one was a $5 million sale. So that probably pays for our Zillow account for a little while. So just persistence and consistency. Latasha, when she was doing the Ali'i and Ho'olei, had specific days that she was out there on Insta, right?
Yeah, I was committing to having ancillary support to my Instagram. So I committed to posting 5 days a week. And then every month, the same week of the month, I dedicated 1 week to specifically talking about holiday decorations only. Had a campaign name and everything. It was very hashtag. I updated my email footer. Everything, even added a separate landing page for Ali'i and Ho'olei specifically, so that they could go and access, deals and that kind of thing.
Okay, that's all I got. Latasha, you said you had some things that you wanted to finish up with.
So I think I'm just we only have a few more minutes. So what I think I'll do is this. I did have a marketing strategy best practices. So what I think I'll do is I'll just email that to everyone, and then you can take a look at that PowerPoint presentation to check on those best practices from other agents that are using marketing strategies around leveraging listings at a high level. So I'll just email that to everyone that's on this call. And then that way you can peruse it at your convenience if you want to do a follow-up with me, or if you want to talk to Lee. I think the only thing for me is just to thank you, Lee, for sharing your amazing wisdom and everything that you're doing. You were one of the first persons that I actually met when I started my journey here with Keller Williams, and you actually was reaching out to me just from a real estate perspective. And I just really appreciate your authentic personality, everything that you do. I'm a big fan, and just thank you so much for everything.
Thank you. Thank you. That's really nice.
I know, Lee, I know you're not licensed here in Oregon, but I'm so disappointed you don't have some open houses I can work.
I think Bo Dyer might have one. He's up there now.
Hey, I'll have one shortly too. But yeah, Lee is
All right,
so
good.
amazing. And I know we're all preaching to the choir, but he's absolutely been instrumental and helpful to me as well. And I think him and his wife and his entire team are just super fabulous. And we're so lucky to have these opportunities.
Thank you.
Well, thanks everyone. Reach out to Lee if you have any specific questions of him. This is our first of many for the new year. So we're definitely going to make sure that we come from contribution and actually give you things that are useful, practical, and helpful for you. So reach out to us if you have any questions. The recording should be on YouTube in the next 24 to 48 hours. I will also email you the PowerPoint presentation specifically for the marketing strategies. But aloha. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Awesome.
Thank you.
Aloha.
Thank you.